Abandoned places already feel creepy with their silence, broken walls, and forgotten history. But some locations in the United States go beyond being just empty. They're said to be haunted by restless spirits. From ghost towns to deserted hospitals, these places hold chilling stories of the past that never left. Here are some of the most haunted abandoned places in the USA. Number 1. Mineral Wells Hill House feels haunted because its walls hold a long, strange past that people still talk about. The house was built in the late 1800s and later linked closely to the famous Baker Hotel. Over the years it served as a family home, a brothel and a speakeasy, and it even sat near one of the town's old mineral wells. That mix of private lives and secret late-night activity left the place heavy with stories. Many people tell of a small boy named Joshua whose giggles or running footsteps are heard near the stairs. Guests say they sometimes find toys move or hear a child's laugh when no child is there, and investigators have recorded EVPs and strange, high-pitched sounds in that area. Another common story is the scratch room. Several visitors claim they woke up with fresh, unexplained scratches after sleeping or spending time there. Staff and investigators say these marks have appeared repeatedly, which makes that room one of the most feared parts of the house. Many witnesses tell of a ghostly woman who laughs in empty halls and of general disembodied voices that answer questions during investigations. People also report shadow figures and sudden cold spots in the basement. The basement is tied by some to the well on the property, and many investigators describe a heavy, pressing presence there, a feeling like someone is watching or breathing close. Some teams have caught strange audio growls and whispering from the lower rooms. Number 2. Holy Land, USA feels haunted because it was built as a joyful, Catholic theme park, but now it sits abandoned, crumbling, and touched by tragedy. Created in the 1950s by attorney John Baptist Greco, it featured life-size biblical scenes like a Garden of Eden, catacomb tunnels, and a 56-foot illuminated cross overlooking the city. After its closure in 1984 and Greco's death in 1986, the property fell into disrepair, vandalism, and neglect, giving it an uncanny atmosphere that reopened imaginations to ghost stories. Many visitors and paranormal explorers have reported hearing whispered prayers, hymns, or chanting in the abandoned chapels and near the broken statues, even when no one else was around. In February 1985, multiple witnesses reported seeing a ghostly woman stepping into a phantom car that hovered above the front gate, then disappeared, an event so strange it was covered by a newspaper the next day. Another chilling story centers on the unnamed teenage girl who was tragically murdered at the base of the illuminated cross in 2010. Her death turned an already eerie sight into a place of real sorrow and haunting. There is also a feeling of being trapped that many people notice when they walk through the overgrown, abandoned grounds. As the sun sets, some say they hear strange voices, feel sudden chills, and sense that time itself has forgotten the place. Number 3. Nags Head Beach carries a haunted reputation because it sits on a coastline steeped in mystery, tragedy, and age-old lore. Not only is it part of the Outer Banks, famous for the vanished Roanoke colony, known as the Lost Colonists, but it also echoes with legends of shipwrecks, ghostly lights, and restless spirits. Nags Head Beach is not completely abandoned. While some houses along its shoreline sit abandoned, yet the hauntings drift far beyond them, spreading across the beach. Gray Man, a silent, shadowy figure, appears on the beach just before hurricanes. Legends say those who see him are spared from the worst of the storm, adding a ghostly watcher to the coastal gloom. One scary story says ghostly figures walk along the beach at night, believed to be sailors who were tricked by false lights that led their ships to crash. Long ago, wreckers tied lanterns to horses' necks and walked them along the dunes, tricking sailors into mistaking the lights for safe harbors. When ships crashed, the wreckers looted the cargo and left many sailors to die, planting the seeds for ghostly legends that still linger today. Then there's the haunting presence of Theodosia Burr Alston's ghost. Her tale is legendary. After her disappearance at sea in 1813, Stories say that at Nags Head on foggy mornings, a woman in a white gown has been seen walking the shore, perhaps still searching for the portrait that became attached to her fate. Number 4. The Peoria State Hospital Cemetery feels haunted because it was the final resting place for countless forgotten souls, patients who died without family, buried in unmarked graves behind one of the largest mental health facilities of its time. Among them was Manuel A. Bookbinder, affectionately called Old Book. He served as a gravedigger and would weep under a lone elm tree, later known as the graveyard elm, after each burial. When Old Book died in 1910, hundreds witnessed his ghost standing by that tree during his funeral, even though his body lay peacefully in the casket. That sight sparked one of Illinois' best-known ghost legends. After the funeral, workers tried to cut down the graveyard elm, but each attempt was met with terrifying cries that sounded like Bookbinder's spirit trapped within. Axes and saws could not silence the wailing, and the tree stood untouched for years. It finally fell only after being struck by lightning, ending decades of fear, but leaving behind stories that refused to die. Visitors and ghost hunters have also reported shadowy figures drifting through the abandoned corridors of the hospital. Whispers of sobbing, sudden footsteps, and creaking noises seem to echo through the air, especially near the old cemetery and the forgotten wards. Some of the most chilling accounts involve ghostly apparitions seen in the windows of the remaining hospital buildings. Paranormal investigators and locals alike have spotted shadowy forms, including a woman in white staring silently from the darkness. Number 5. The Edgar Allan Poe House in Baltimore feels haunted because its walls quietly hold the soul of one of America's greatest writers. Poe lived there in the early 1830s, crafting stories of death, madness, and mystery. Since becoming a museum in 1949, visitors say that the house still echoes his spirit. The original structure, cramped and dim, creates the perfect setting for lingering voices and flickering lights that feel pulled directly from one of his ghostly tales. A gray-haired woman, sometimes believed to be Poe's wife or grandmother, has been seen wandering through the rooms. Alongside her, a presence nicknamed Mr. Eddie is said to keep watch. Some visitors describe a strong sense of being observed. On the street outside, local residents tell darker tales. Children walking by at night have reported hearing strange sounds or seeing shadows at the windows, and urban legends say some children vanish without explanation. Not far away, at Westminster Hall and Burying Ground, Poe's final resting place, visitors report hearing voices, screams, footsteps, cold spots, and sudden foul smells. Some claim to see full apparitions, including Poe himself among the graves. A mysterious Poe toaster once visited Poe's grave before dawn on his birthday for decades, leaving 3 roses and a half-empty bottle of cognac, then vanishing into the mist. Though not a ghost, the ritual adds to the poetic, spectral aura surrounding Poe's legacy. Number 6. Tillamook Rock Lighthouse sits alone on a basalt rock a mile offshore from Oregon's coast, known as Terrible Tilly for its isolation and brutal storms. Built in 1881 after many dangers and cost overruns, it faced such savage conditions that many believe the place became haunted by tragedy, sorrow, and lingering spirits. One scary story comes from Native American legends, which said the rock was cursed and full of evil spirits. They stayed away from it completely, and this belief helped create centuries of eerie and unsettling tales. Another early tragedy unfolded during construction, when Master Mason John Truavas was swept off the rock by a rogue wave and lost at sea, his body never found. That event seeded stories of restless waters and unseen presences. Perhaps the most unnerving story comes from a keeper shift in which all 4 lightkeepers reportedly saw a ghost ship drifting in the fog before vanishing, an image that haunted their memories long after. Isolation and fear took a heavy toll. One chilling story tells of a new lighthouse keeper who was chased up the stairs by a malicious apparition. He lost his mind, he was taken away, and some believe his spirit still lingers in the lighthouse today. Other keepers spoke of low, pained moans echoing off the stone walls, especially in the caretaker's quarters, a sound that felt like suffering trapped in the rock. Number 7. Jerome feels haunted because of the dark history hidden in the tunnels beneath its streets. Long ago, it was a busy copper mining town called the wickedest town in the West. The tunnels were used not just for mining, but also by bootleggers who secretly moved opium and liquor between buildings. In those dark spaces, many accidents, deaths, and disappearances happened. People believe the sadness of the past still lingers there, with restless spirits moving in the shadows. A miner known as Headless Charlie, who lost his head in a mining accident. Miners afterward claimed they'd see his headless figure, carrying an empty bucket, stalking the tunnels beneath town. A hand-dug tunnel once led from an apartment closet and was used to smuggle opium. One night, a thief crawled through it, shot the couple living there, stole their supply, and disappeared. Today, on ghost tours, people say they feel uneasy in that spot and sometimes hear faint answers through a spirit box when they ask questions. Some visitors on tours say they hear distant voices or footsteps echoing where no one can possibly be, as if miners still walk the old paths. Number 8. Penhurst feels haunted because its walls echo decades of human suffering, neglect, and injustice. Established in the early 1900s for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, the institution became overcrowded, understaffed, and abusive as years passed. In the 1960s, reports uncovered terrible conditions at the institution. Patients were treated badly and often neglected. Because of this, the place was finally shut down in 1987. One haunting account centers on Quaker Hall, where people witnessed shadowy figures, including a little girl with long black hair, hearing slamming doors, disembodied voices whispering, "Don't touch me," or "I'm scared," and feeling physical touches like scratches. The Philadelphia building holds its own hauntings. People have seen a woman in a white nurse's uniform, shadowy figures drifting between rooms, and unexplained EMF spikes. Explorers of the underground tunnels report hearing vomiting sounds, sudden loud noises, a desk being pushed across and dropped, and curtains mysteriously parting in a locked room. In Mayflower Hall's basement, a malevolent presence called King, said to be a former maintenance man, has reportedly pulled hair, scratched or pushed visitors, and responded to spirit box recordings with threats. Number 9. Concordia Cemetery feels haunted because it's more than just a resting place with over 60,000 buried souls, many in abandoned or forgotten sections. The desert setting, crumbling wooden markers, iron cribs marking infant graves, and the mix of cultures add to the eerie ambience. Over time, the neglect, the dust, and the sheer number of unknown graves have made the cemetery fertile ground for stories of lingering spirits. Many local storytellers and tour guides say Concordia's abandoned infant section is one of the most unsettling parts. Women who've had C-sections often report feeling pressure on their scars when they pass that area, an uncanny, physical echo of sorrow. Another haunting figure is the Lady in White, seen gliding between gravestones in the dead of night before vanishing. Some believe she's wandering forever, tied to the sorrow of the place. Ghost tours also talk about the spirit of famous gunslinger John Wesley Hardin. People visiting his grave say they hear strange sounds, like horses' hooves or laughter, even though no one is there. One particularly eerie incident involves a ghostly photograph captured by a tour visitor. A faint image of a man in a hat, transparent around the feet, appears between tombstones. The photo, likely taken in 2012 or 2013, still chills those who see it. Number 10. The Black River ghost ship in Lorraine feels haunted because a real, rusty ferry suddenly appeared one day and was left to rot, which made people curious. The ship, called the Upper Canada, first launched as the Romeo and Annette, was found under the Lofton-Henderson Memorial Bridge in the early 2000s. No one could say for sure who owned it or how it ended up there. Over time, the ship began to sink, its paint peeled, and its hull settled halfway into the mud. This strange and lonely sight gave the place an eerie feeling that sparked ghost stories. Some visitors say they see odd lights moving aboard at night, small flashlights but come from places where no one is standing. These lights make people imagine unseen crews still tending the decks. People who have climbed onto the wreck to take photos or videos say they hear strange sounds. Some describe a faint creak, like metal being pulled by a winch, while others hear soft footsteps on the deck, even though no one else is there. Number 11. Lake Shawnee Amusement Park feels haunted because the land has a long and sad history. In 1783, a settler named Mitchell Clay lost 3 of his children here. Many years later, in 1926, an amusement park was built on the same ground, which was also once a Native American burial site. The park saw more tragedies, including a young girl who died on a swing ride, a boy who drowned in a pool, and other accidents. With so much loss tied to the land, people believe the sorrow still lingers, giving the park its haunted feeling. A striking story from visitors involves the swings moving all on their own, even when there's no wind and no one nearby. Another legend speaks of a ghostly little girl in a pink dress, seen silently swinging. Near the old ticket booth, some visitors say strange things happen. They report suddenly being locked inside or even pushed out, even though no one else is around. Near the ride structures, many have heard unsettling chanting or disembodied footsteps and laughter, especially at night. Adding a further layer of unease, when the park was reopened briefly in the 1980s, construction crews uncovered numerous Native American skeletons, confirming the burial ground nature of the site and reinforcing the belief that the land is cursed. Number 12. Thurmond feels haunted because it once thrived with life, coal miners, railroad workers, hotels, banks, and then so quickly emptied, its empty streets and buildings seem trapped between past and present. Now Thurmond is mostly a ghost town, with only a handful of homes still occupied, while massive historic structures stand weathered and empty. People who visit Thurmond or take part in ghost tours often share spine-tingling experiences. At the old depot and across the tracks, people say they sometimes see lights flickering in windows that have been boarded up for years. Others claim to hear the sound of a train whistle, even though no train is anywhere nearby. Others report shadow figures crossing the abandoned streets at dusk, as if memories of the people who once filled the sidewalks are replaying themselves. At the Dun Glen Hotel ruins, there's a famous ghostly tale. A woman in a blue dress is said to wander the halls at night, her presence felt more than seen. People report footsteps, doors creaking, and sometimes the soft sound of laughter or a cry that suddenly cuts off. In and around the Thurmond post office, once a central meeting place, investigators have picked up unexplained noises, voices murmuring, and cold spots where heat flow should be normal. Items left on tables are sometimes found moved. Number 13. Hudson River State Hospital feels haunted because of its long and sad history. It first opened in the 1870s as a large psychiatric hospital and once held thousands of patients. Over the years, it faced overcrowding, fires, and many difficult times. When it closed in 2003, the buildings were left empty and slowly began to fall apart. Today, people say the dark halls, broken windows, and empty rooms still carry the pain of the past, and many report hearing strange sounds, feeling cold spots, and seeing lights or shadows inside. Many stories have grown from those feelings. People driving by at night have said they hear distant screams or crying coming from the grounds, as if someone is still calling out. Several people say they have seen shadowy figures moving through the hallways or standing at the end of a long corridor. These shadow people sometimes appear in pictures or felt as a presence that follows tour groups. Some former workers and local storytellers describe more personal encounters. A nurse's shadow seen through a cracked window, a chair moving by itself in an empty room, or a voice whispering names. These repeated, similar accounts from different people, shared in local articles and historic guides, are why so many believe Hudson River State Hospital is haunted. These haunted abandoned places remind us that history never really disappears. It lingers in whispers, shadows, and stories that refuse to fade. Each empty hallway, crumbling wall, and forgotten street holds echoes of lives once lived. Thank you for joining us on this chilling journey through the most haunted abandoned places in the USA, and thanks for watching.